Unit 6. He'd never seen the desert. Vocabulary. Look at the picture. How would you describe the people? Write the correct letter. Then listen and check your answers. 1,
C. Noisy.
2,
A. Angry.
3,
E. Cheerful.
4,
D. Patient.
5,
F. Careless.
6,
B. In a hurry.
Conversation. How was your trip? Complete the conversation. Then watch and check your answers. Practice the conversation with a partner.
Tom, you're back. How was your trip to Brazil?
Great, once I got there. My flight was delayed by mechanical problems. By the time my plane finally landed in Rio, my connecting flight had left.
Oh, I hate it when that happens.
I know. Luckily, I have a friend who lives in Rio, so I decided to stay there for a few days.
Was he surprised to hear from you?
Yes, and it turned out great. I hadn't met his family, so we all spent some time together. Rio's great.
I bet. I've never been, but I'd love to go. Did you go to any museums?
Well, the kids were pretty young, so we went to the beach.
Good for you. Rio's got the best beaches in the world.
Language practice. Past perfect. Simple past.
By the time my plane landed in Rio,
Past perfect.
my connecting flight had left.
Simple past.
When we got to the station,
Past perfect.
the train had just arrived.
Simple past.
They couldn't get home
Past perfect.
because she had lost her passport.
Past perfect.
I hadn't been there before,
Simple past.
so I took a bike tour of the city.
Past perfect.
How long had you studied French
Simple past.
before you went to Paris?
Pronunciation. Reduction of had in the past perfect. Listen. Notice the reduced sound of the helping verb had. 1. Unreduced.
The flight had already left.
Reduced.
The flight had already left.
2. Unreduced.
Pam had packed a sweater.
Reduced.
Pam had packed a sweater.
3. Unreduced.
How long had you been there?
Reduced.
How long had you been there?
4. Unreduced.
What had you expected to see?
Reduced.
What had you expected to see?
Listening. Number the sentences in chronological order. Which audiobook in Activity 1 is it?
Chapter 9, Death Valley. Cece and Liam were 5 hours out of Los Angeles when the engine's fan belt broke. It happened just like that. 1 minute they were driving in a straight line through the desert, drinking coffee and planning their next photo shoot for the road trip miniseries. The next minute, they were sitting in the shade of their small SUV, trying to find a signal. "Are you sure we can't drive the car?" asked Cece. "I'm sure," said Liam. "What if no one comes?" asked Cece. "Don't talk like that," said Liam. This is a major highway. Someone has to come. Cece didn't quite believe him. They had hardly seen any cars since turning onto this road. She looked up at the dry brown hills. Death Valley was a good name for this place, she thought. There were no trees, no plants, nothing. Just hills, rocks, and dirt. And it was hot. Scary hot. "Did you know," said Liam, "that a person can go 3 weeks without food, but if they don't get water, they can die in a couple of days?" "Thanks for the information, Liam," Cece said. "I'm just saying that we have to be smart. Don't get any ideas about going off in search of water." "I won't." "There's nothing out there, Cece." "I know." "Good, because sometimes I feel like you are just a bit too adventurous." By evening, they had run out of water. Cece's skin was red and her lips were cracked. She was thirsty beyond belief, and her head hurt. They had seen one truck, and it had passed them without stopping. Perhaps the driver hadn't seen them sitting next to the car. Maybe he thought the car was empty. Now, with night falling, the dry air was cooling. A light wind blew Liam's hair away from his face. He smiled at Cece and rubbed his eyes. "I think I see a star," he said, looking over her shoulder. "You can make a wish," Cece smiled. She looked up to the east where night was starting to cover the hills and spread across the sky. Liam closed his eyes and moved his lips. "We'll be fine now," he joked. "But we'd better get in the car. It's going to be a long, cold night." Cece was just about to get into the car when something caught her eye. She turned and looked. Sure enough, a light was shining on one of the hills. Was help nearby?
Listening Plus. Listen to Chapter 10. Choose true, false, or not given.
Chapter 10. Signs of Life. At first, Liam didn't want to leave the safety of the car. "People travel on roads," he argued. "We aren't going to find help out there in the empty desert." Cece was tired of waiting, however. She was too thirsty to sleep, and when a half-moon rose and shone a blue light across the desert floor, she finally convinced him that they could see well enough to travel. "It's not as far as it looks," she said, pointing at the light. "I promise. And we need water." Liam shook his head. Finally, Cece suggested that an adventure would improve the show, and Liam reluctantly agreed to leave the safety of the car. The pair walked silently, working their way across the desert floor and up the hill. Their eyes had adjusted to the night, and they could see every rock and branch in front of them. Soon, they were close enough to see a campfire. "I think it's a campground," Cece said quietly. "Come on." Liam was not in a hurry, however. He wanted to find out who was sitting around the fire before they showed themselves. "We have the advantage of darkness," he said. "What if they're criminals? What if they are hiding from the police? Or maybe they've escaped from prison?" Cece agreed and moved slowly to the light. But when they actually got close to the edge of the fire, Cece's laughter gave them away. The people sitting around the fire were actors. She could recognize Lucas Rivers in a shiny spacesuit. Around him were the cast of Space Traveler, and at their feet, an ice chest. And that meant only one thing: water. "Hey, guys," she said, leading Liam into the circle of light. "We are so glad to see you. You are about to save our lives."
Reading Beautiful Beach House.
Come and enjoy a tropical island paradise on the island of Key Largo in the Florida Keys. Our 2-bedroom, 1-bath beach house is in a private community just minutes from the ocean. You'll enjoy access to private beaches as well as an enormous swimming pool with a play area for the kids. There is shopping and fine dining nearby, as well as boat rentals and other activities. This cozy little home can sleep up to 6 people. It has a full kitchen, outdoor grill, air conditioning, and free Wi-Fi. The first bedroom has a king-sized bed. Bedroom 2 has a queen, and there is a fold-out couch for the kids.
Reviews. Carmela. Stayed in January. 4.5 stars.
This was our 3rd trip to the Florida Keys. We love island life, and our stay at this cottage was pleasant. The home was clean, and the hosts had provided everything we needed. The only downside was discovering that the short walk to the beach was not so short. It took us 20 minutes.
Host's response.
We are glad you enjoyed the cottage. We will update our description of the neighborhood.
Mariam. Stayed in March. 5 stars.
My husband and I were delighted with this cute little beach house we had found for our family vacation. But we also discovered the kindness of our hosts, Alvin and Betsy, who helped us get through a medical emergency. We had spent a fun day with the grandkids at the pool, and we were getting ready for bed when George started having chest pains. Our daughter and son-in-law had gone out to dinner, so we called Alvin, who came straight over. Betsy stayed with the kids, and Alvin drove us to the hospital. His fast thinking saved George's life. We think they deserve far more than a 5-star review, so we are giving them 10 stars.
Host's response.
Miriam, we were happy to help, and we are so glad that George is better.
Homework.
Listening.
We're here in beautiful downtown Sydney, Australia, talking to tourists. We want to hear stories about travel experiences and people who took a chance travelling to another country. Excuse me, ma'am. My name is Edgar Brown, and I'm a reporter for Channel 6 News. Can you please tell me where you're from?
I'm from the U.S.
And what is your name?
Beth Lewis.
How long have you been in Sydney?
I've been here for 3 days.
And how was your flight from the US?
It was terrible. First of all, I was anxious about not finding a good price for a ticket, so I booked my flight a year ago. And wouldn't you know it, there was a sale on flights to Australia a week later, but I had already paid for the ticket. Then, I thought I had everything packed before I left. My taxi had arrived at the airport in plenty of time, but as I walked into the airport building, I realized I had left my passport at home.
Oh, no.
Yes, I was reluctant to call my brother and ask him to bring it to the airport because when he's in a hurry, he drives very fast. But I had no other option. Well, he drove fast through traffic and almost had a car accident.
I hope he's okay. Did he get there in time?
Yes, but by the time he arrived, the airline had already announced a delay in my flight.
How long was the delay?
About 3 hours, and that was fine. I talked to people and tried to be cheerful.
Okay, so that's the bad part of the trip. Did anything good happen?
I think you could say that. Surprisingly, after about 2 hours in the airport terminal where I had been waiting, I saw an old friend. He was on the same flight to Sydney. We went to an airport cafe for some coffee. He's very enthusiastic about traveling, and he started telling me about his latest trip to Bermuda. After we had been there for a while, we looked up and saw that our flight had already left. We'd forgotten all about the time.
How long had you been in the cafe?
For 3 hours.
For 3 hours.
I was really upset and started to cry. Luckily, the airline was very helpful and got us onto the next day's flight to Sydney.
That takes me back to my question. How was your flight?
It was great. Very smooth, and I slept the whole way.
Pronunciation. Listen to parts of the conversation again. Is the helping verb had reduced or unreduced? Choose the correct answer. 1,
My taxi had arrived at the airport in plenty of time.
2,
By the time he arrived, the airline had already announced a delay in my flight.
3,
We looked up and saw that our flight had already left.
4,
We'd forgotten all about the time.
5,
How long had you been in the cafe?
As always, thanks a lot for watching. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And before you go, give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and click that tiny bell. And don't forget to check out some of our other videos on the channel. On to the next time.